Okay. All right. Hello and welcome everyone to Turtle Talk. This program is part of the Pennsauken Free Public Library Summer Reading Program 2021. Our theme this year is Tales and Tales, so having the New Jersey Turtle Lady here is a perfect match. My name is Heather Christian. I am the Youth Services Librarian at the library. And before I introduce our speaker, I just want to go over a few housekeeping things. Please keep yourself muted during the presentation so there isn't any sort of feedback while Cindy's talking so everybody can hear her. If you do have a question, you are welcome to add it to the chat, which is either if you're on a cell phone, it might be on the side, or if you're on a desktop computer or a laptop, it's on the bottom. There's a little chat button if you hover your mouse down towards the bottom of your screen there. So if you have a question, please add it there and we will take those at the end. And depending on how long the presentation goes, we might actually be able to answer some live questions at the end as well. So it is very much my pleasure to introduce the New Jersey Turtle Lady, Cindy Pierson. She is a retired science teacher. She gave me a very short bio. There's a lot I could say about Cindy. He is the former president of the Pompeston Creek Watershed Association and a dedicated environmentalist. She's lived in Cinnaminson next to the Pompeston Creek for nearly 40 years in a house that was actually built by her great-great-grandfather in 1889. And she became known as the Turtle Lady in the year 2000 due to her work with the local snapping turtles. And there has been a brief hiatus since 2018 in these turtle talks, but she's very happy to be back. And so Cindy, I am ready to let you talk. Did you want me to start the slideshow or did you want to talk first?
I'll talk a little bit and then oh my God, a lanternfly just landed on me. I hate spotted lanternflies. Anyway, thank you, Heather. Heather is a wonderful librarian friend of mine who is the daughter of a librarian friend of mine who I have known, Vicki, for 50 years. I met you in 1971. Oh my God. Vicki is a very dear friend and her daughter is fabulous. So I thought we'd start with how the heck did I get started working with turtles? This is a scary story. Pay attention. Back in 2000, in June, the early part of June, I used to sit across the street at the creek watching the catfish swim and looking at all the birds and things. One night I saw a turtle that was so big, I didn't believe it. I went out every night for 2 weeks, saw this gigantic turtle. Nobody believed me. George didn't believe me. My kids didn't believe me. They said I was crazy because I sat in the swamp at night. So that might be true, but I saw a giant turtle. So on June 10th, close to midnight, I went out to the middle of the creek. It was low tide. The water was maybe 3 or 4 inches deep with a dog cage, a half a chicken, a pointy stick, a camera, and a flashlight. Sure enough, the turtle showed up. I got it into the cage. It ate the half a chicken in one bite. It was terrifying. So I shut the door on the cage real quick, took tons of pictures. Heather, that's the first couple of pictures. And it was the biggest turtle I'd ever seen in my life. Well, the tide turns. It's getting deeper and deeper and deeper. I'm telling this turtle, look, you have to leave or we're both going to drown. And it wouldn't leave and it wouldn't leave. It was terrifying. So finally it turns around and it lunges out of the cage at me. You want these ones? There you go. And the next one. This turtle was gigantic. This is a cage that I put my yellow Labrador in. I took the pictures. Well, after it finally went away, I thought it was going to eat me. I knew nothing about turtles back then. And so I'm trying to scramble up the bank, screaming at the top of my lungs. Nobody hears me. I was sure this turtle was going to kill me. Well, it didn't, of course. And I took the pictures to my friend at the zoo, who was the curator of reptiles. And he said, after I gave him the measurements of the cage, that this turtle probably weighed between 80 and 90 pounds and was between 80 and 100 years old. I was fascinated. I started watching the creeks. I also stopped putting my feet in the creek water when I was sitting on the dock. I wasn't that stupid. So anyway, I started watching these turtles and I realized that each year there were fewer and fewer. It's like, well, why is that? So I started paying closer attention, and I realized that snapping turtles work harder to clean the water than any other creature on the planet, even me. Eat all of the half-eaten fish and the rotten plants that everybody else leaves behind. They're wonderful creatures. Everybody says, oh, they're so ugly. Go down to the next pictures, Heather. I think we have baby turtles here. Baby snapping turtles are probably, this is the picture that's up right now. That's one of my babies. That was one that I had raised and released. Anyway, I started watching these creatures, and I think they're adorable, personally. I think they're wonderful creatures, but they were getting hit by cars. People were calling me because they had nests in their yard, and there were eggs, and the predators were getting them. These creatures have been on the planet for more than 200 million years. They survived when the dinosaurs didn't, because they can burrow and they have very slow metabolisms, so they can survive. Them and cockroaches, I think, would survive a nuclear war. But I absolutely love these creatures, and I was worried about them. So I started putting up turtle crossing signs and doing turtle talks. We can scroll down through the turtles, the snapping turtle pictures. Is that Marshall making all that noise?
Yeah.
Marshall's making all kinds of noise in the background. He's ready to go to bed, and he's pissed off that I'm angry that I'm not paying attention.
Tell them who Marshall is.
What's that?
Tell them who Marshall is.
Marshall is my 120-pound sulcata, Geochilone sulcata, or an African spur-thigh tortoise. One of the problems we have in this area with turtles is, when I was a kid, you could go to Woolworths and buy a turtle for $1. You could send away in the back of a magazine or a comic book, and they'd mail you one in a little box with holes in it, air holes in it, for $1. People get them as pets. They never ask how big they'll be. Jamie, you're one of the people who knows that for sure.
Oh yeah. Yes, I am.
Got Marshall because my husband was working with a guy in Audubon who had this little 6-year-old turtle in a fish tank, 20-gallon fish tank. He couldn't even turn around. And my husband finally said, give me that turtle, and took it and brought him home. And I immediately knew what kind of turtle he was and said, George, do you know what you just did? And he goes, maybe. And I told him, this turtle could grow up to be about 250 pounds. And he said, oh, we don't have to worry about that. They live forever. 12 years later, Marshall is now 18 and he weighs 120 pounds. He's pushing, he can be obnoxious. And if he gets in the house, he rearranges the furniture. He sleeps in the shed in the summertime out back. In winter, he likes to stay in the house. He likes to watch hockey and the PBS NewsHour. I think he's got a crush on Jamie, or Judy Woodruff. I think he really likes her. But that's a big problem that turtles have these days, is people buy them as pets. They don't know that it's a lifelong commitment. They don't know that, oh my gosh, I'm going to have this turtle forever and it's going to keep getting bigger. The people who sell them say, oh, he'll only stay the size of the tank you put him in. Well, those little turtles that we bought when we were kids, my mother always told me mine died while I was at school. I think she was flinging them out into the Delaware River. We've been finding them in the Delaware and in its tributaries. They're 40 and 50 years old, and they are like this big. They're huge. Another problem with that is those particular turtles, they're called red-eared sliders. Remember the little red spots they had on their heads? They're not native to this area. They're native to Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. Well, they adapted very, very well to this area. We've been finding them out in the Pompeston Creek and the Rancocas Creek. They're taking over. They've adapted so well that they're eating the food that our red-bellied turtles and our painted turtles should be eating. We no longer have bog turtles here. We no longer have spotted turtles here. Whenever we find a red-ear slider in the creek or in the river, we do pull them. They either live with me, or thank God, I have found a number of teachers who are very, very responsible people. I give them tanks and filters, and they keep the turtles in their classrooms. Yay, teachers. It's why would you throw an animal back out into the wild if it's not from here? It's because people don't know anything about turtles or about native species versus invasive species. So I started doing the turtle talk. Let's see. Once people hear you work with turtles, they start leaving things on your doorstep. I have had a variety of turtles over the years. Somebody picked up a diamondback terrapin. Those are the ones down at the shore that they have the turtle crossing signs for, and they built these elaborate tunnels under the highway so that the turtles would be able to get across. Unfortunately, turtles, when they're going to nest, go for high ground. They want to get above the high water mark. So $750,000 per tunnel, and the turtles won't use them. An idiot of mine picked up a diamondback and brought it home. He had it for about a week and said, "What am I doing?" And he brought it here. And Janie Walsh, who is one of the people watching right now, lives down near Brigantine, down near the shore. And she took this she came all the way up here, took the little diamondback back to where it belongs. They live in brackish water in the back bays and the marshes. And she released him, and he looked so happy when she let him go. Heather, can you scroll down for pictures for the little baby snappers?
Oh,
They're in the little.
In
There
blue.
they are.
In blue.
Those are the little babies. Are they too stinking cute or what?
oh,
A construction crew at New Albany School called me and said, "We found a turtle nest. What do we do?" I said, "I'll be right there." I went up and we dug up 85 eggs. Our bulldozers are running. And these are some of those eggs. When a snapping turtle lays eggs, the older they get, the more eggs they lay. So the turtle that laid these was probably at least 80 years old.
wow.
Dug up as many eggs as we could and saved as many as we could. They incubate really well in Tupperware, believe it or not. Those humidity control ones, is a little snap on the lid, works great. And in potting soil, but I try to bring as much of the dirt from their own nest as I can. You can see the eggs in the little container. Well, if a turtle lays 100 eggs, you'll be lucky if 20 actually hatch. Of those 20, 10 will make it to their first birthday. He's looking because Marshall's making all
He
kinds
went
of noise.
inside.
Of those 10 that made it to their first birthday, 2 will make it to adulthood. That's why they lay so many. They get eaten by birds. The biggest problem they have these days is they're going to where they always laid their eggs, the same spot they've been going for 50 years. Now there are houses, there are kids, there are pets, and people have these manicured gardens, and the turtles are just doing what they're supposed to do. They were here first. I think we should give them a little consideration. But anyway, this batch, we had 13 babies that survived. And one of them was the runt of the litter. You can keep going down, Heather. One of them was the runt of the litter, and her siblings just beat the tar out of her, bit her tail off. You can see snapping turtles. You can keep going. Snapping turtles have very long tails. That's one of the ways you can identify them. Well, poor little Bubba had her tail bitten off, so she has a nubby tail. And let me tell this story first. This snapping turtle, I got a call from a woman in Willingboro who said, "My son has a turtle, please come and get it." And I was like, "Why?" He was keeping it in a 2 foot by 2 foot tank, and it thought that to eat, it had to smack its face against the glass of the aquarium. So I went up there, and his mother went with me, so he didn't give me any trouble. I should give that woman your turtle. So I brought him home. He didn't have a nose. It was just gone from being smacked against the glass. So we kept him and gave him antibiotics and took care of him until he grew his nose back, and then we let him go. This was at a turtle talk I did at Palmyra Cove, and one of our state representatives, who's not the Herb Conaway, the other one, I don't remember what
Jack
it was.
Connors.
Yeah, Representative Connors was there, and he comes up real close, and he's like, "Is that real?" And it snapped at him. It was hilarious. I laughed so hard. Anyway, we took that turtle back to the Mill Creek in Willingboro, where it was originally from, and let it go. And from what I hear, it's done very well. People have seen it again. I tag their shells I use a paint marker, and it only lasts for a year or two, which is fine with me. I just want to make sure that they get safe, and we can their faces are all different too. What other animals are like that? All their faces are different.
I'm not
Anyway,
sure.
the marking, you see the markings on its chin there, the two white stripes. Not every snapping turtle has that, which is, I just love them to bits. I think they're gorgeous. And you can see the long tail. Okay, Heather, you can go down and scroll down a little more. A few more pictures. This is my Bubba. She was 7 years old. You can barely see her. She's at the bottom of the screen. She came back. That's exactly where her nest site was. She came back when she was 7 years old and laid her first clutch of eggs. She only laid 13 eggs, and I don't know that any of them survived. So Creek left them there. But I was so thrilled that she came back. I let her go, I think it was like 2004, and she came back. She has come back every single year. She's up to about 35, 40 eggs now that she's laying. And I'm so excited. Even this year, after I sold the property across the street, she came back and laid her eggs underneath of their fire pit inside a little aluminum frame so the predators can't get to the eggs. And I'm just so thrilled. She'll come up to the edge of the creek. If I go over at night with a flashlight and shine the light in the water, she'll come up. She'll let me scritch her shell, but she won't let me catch her. I would love to catch her just to weigh her and measure her. But I'm so excited that she's still here. We thought she'd been hit by a car a couple of years ago out in the street here because we couldn't see the tail, so we weren't sure. And then when she came back the next year, I was so thrilled. There are two turtles that I let go at Lakeview back in 2002 or 2003. If I stick my hand in the water, they'll come up. They won't come close, but they'll come up because they recognize my scent. You can go down a little bit more, Heather. Let's see what pictures we have next to start my imagination. You can just keep scrolling through these. These are some of the turtles that we've come across over the years. There's some more eggs. This one, stop here. This one was a turtle. I got a phone call from a woman in Mount Laurel who said, please help me. There's a turtle on my front step and it won't go away. This turtle was there for a couple of days and she couldn't get out her front door. When it finally did move, it went into her driveway, so she couldn't back out. So my daughter and I went over, we tagged the turtle, and we took it back to the nearest waterway. And that brings us to the point. If ever you see a snapping turtle out of the water, it's a female, absolutely. Males never leave the water unless they are thrown out by a female. Years ago, I was over at Lakeview Cemetery, which is part of my creek. And it's like 5 o'clock in the morning and the mist is coming up from the creek, from the lake. And it's very, very quiet. And it's kind of creepy. It's a cemetery after all. Remember the scene at the end of Halloween or Friday the 13th when the little kid jumps out of the water at the girl in the canoe? Keep that picture in mind. I'm sitting there. All at once I hear this and something comes flying out of the water. It was a male snapping turtle. A female was done with him and just tossed him right out onto the bank. It was hilarious. Scared the heck out of me, but it was pretty funny. Female ones that you will see out of the water. They nest anywhere from April, sometimes as late as June. Before they lay their eggs, you can poke them in the eye, spin them around, do whatever you want. They don't care. All they want to do is lay these eggs. Any woman who's ever been in labor can relate to that. Once they lay their eggs, they will bite your face off in a heartbeat. They get really aggressive. All they want to do after that is go home, back to the water. They never care about the eggs. They don't care about the babies. If they run into the babies years later, they'll eat them. They just don't care. They're not like alligators. Alligators are wonderful mothers. Turtles are not. One time I got a call from 911. 911 called me. There was a turtle in the middle of Sunset Road up by Rancocas Hospital. And it had already laid its eggs and it was like not letting anybody get near it and wouldn't let any cars get past. So they called me and I went with my snow shovel and my Rubbermaid wheelbarrow and scooped it up and we took it back to where it belonged. The way to tell which direction they're going when you see them in the road is, have they laid their eggs yet or have they not? If they haven't, they're coming away from the water. If they have, they want to go back. You can scroll down a little more. Let's see what else I got in here. I adore snapping turtles. They're my favorite kind of turtles. I never meant to get her. Oh, that's Bubba in the water, in the creek. You can barely see her. You can keep going. there's one coming up. The Riverton police are wonderful. I have turtle crossing signs all over the place. Oh, this is a horrible story here. The one on the left, this was just a couple of weeks ago. A woman called me. I was taking my dog to the vet. She said, I just saw a turtle that got hit by a car. And I was so upset. She said, I can't do anything. She was on her way to an appointment. And I told her, well, I'll go as quick as I can after the vet with the dog. And if he's okay, he won't be there. If he's been injured or dead, then he won't be, or he will be. So I got there and this turtle was more than dead. It had been obliterated. If you saw a 15-pound rock in the street, you would avoid it with your car. It could damage your car. Why is it any different for a turtle? I took her home, and as gross as it is, whenever we find a turtle that's been hit, we do cut them open to see if there are any eggs. I have actually saved eggs from turtles that have been killed, and we've been able to incubate them. But that was just a horror for me. It's like, why would you run over a turtle? What did they ever do to you? You can see on the picture on the right, the blue letters, the blue numbers. That's what we tag them with. The paint lasts about 2 years and then it wears off. But it's enough to make sure that they get through until the next season. Go ahead, Heather. What else have I got? Where are we? These are just more snapping turtles after this. Like I said, I love snapping turtles. They help keep the water clean. Oh, this is the wonderful story. The Riverton police will pull their police cars across the road with their lights flashing to let the turtle cross. You see the double yellow lines in the picture on the left. Now look on the picture on the right. You can see the turtle crossing sign. The turtle crossed at the turtle crossing sign. I had a woman ask me, how do they know to do that? I said, oh, they can read. And she believed me. It's hilarious. I have a turtle tattoo on my shoulder blade. And a woman came up to me at a turtle talk and said, is that a tattoo? And I said, no, it's a birthmark. That's why they call me the turtle lady. Oh, I think she was related to the woman who believed me about the turtles reading the sign. It's like we put the signs up where we know that they're going to cross. It's like I said, they've been going the same route for their entire lives. So of course I know where to put the turtle crossing sign. Okay, go ahead, Heather. Let's see what else I got. These are just more snapping turtles that we've been. Oh, I have another story. Mother's Day, years and years ago, my kids were still at home and George was still here. Bang, bang, bang on the door. It's Mother's Day. I'm sleeping late. Go downstairs, open the door, and there's a Cinnaminson policeman standing there. This is Pierson. I said, yes. Could you step outside, please? I said, I beg your pardon. I need you to come outside. I'm wearing my SpongeBob sleepy pants. Sleep late. So I go out on the porch. He goes, I need you to, ooh, my thingy just went away. Now I'm hooking back up. So anyway, I go outside. He says, please go out to the car and open the back door. And I'm terrified. So I open the door of the police car. There's a huge snapping turtle sitting on the back seat of his car. He goes, will you get that thing out of my car? And I said, well, okay. It turns out he was a rookie. The other cops had found it crossing Manor Road in front of the police station and decided it would be really funny if they put it into his car. So he was smart enough. He knew to come here. And so we let it go into the creek. It was pretty funny. Okay, what else have I got? I can't see anything on my screen. Can you, there we go. This turtle's name is Ugly. He is a 32-year-old snapping turtle. A friend of mine has had him since he was a baby, and he's a hoot. He's spoiled rotten. He bullies the guy's Rottweiler. You can keep going through these, Heather. And he's just too funny. That's my friend with Ugly. He's a spoiled baby. He eats an entire London broil at a time. And he's a hoot. He lets him wander around the house. He's got a huge, like 200-gallon tank that he sleeps in, but he does like to wander around the house. He also rides around in a baby coach occasionally, which I find a little disturbing. But go to the next one, Heather. This is going to be the watershed one, I think. Okay. This is a map of where I live. The Delaware River is on the left, and the area encircled by the blue line is the Pompeston Creek Watershed. It's about 8 square miles. A watershed is an area of land that drains into a particular area or into a particular waterway. On the left of my watershed is the Pennsauken Creek Watershed. On the right is the Swedes Run Watershed, and past that is the Rancocas Watershed. Watersheds are important. We all live downstream from something. All of these tributaries go into the Delaware River. And that's why it upsets me when people say, oh, why should I care about the pinelands, about what's going on in the Pine Barrens? Who cares about that? The Rancocas Creek is a huge watershed. It's the only waterway in New Jersey that drains into the Delaware. All the others drain into the ocean. Anything that happens to the Rancocas happens to the Delaware, and the Rancocas drains right where the New Jersey American water intake pipes are. So it's going to affect all of us. One major example I have is back in 2004, a ship called the Athos II ran aground in the Delaware, right near Paulsboro. It dumped 80,000 gallons of crude oil into the river. Well, the Delaware is tidal, so the water goes up, it goes down. Petroleum products, when they hit cold water, this happened in November, will solidify. They float for a while, but then they sink. We found oil sludge all the way up here at Taylor's Farm. It's about 1.5 miles north of me. I called the Coast Guard and all the officials. They said, no, you didn't. I said, excuse me? Yes, I did. I have pictures. They said, no, you don't. They refused. They tried to tell me that the oil stopped at the Tacony-Palmyra Bridge. Well, it didn't. Once it has been there for a little bit, it sinks. Anything that's hibernating or wintering in the mud at the bottom of the creek, in the spring, they have to come up through that stuff. Petroleum products affect crayfish. The following year, in 2005, the few crayfish we did see had almost no eggs. They were loosely attached, and they didn't look healthy at all. In 2006, there were no crayfish at all. Well, crayfish eat baby eels. With no crayfish, we were overrun with eels. It was creepy. I don't like eels. I like snakes. And it was terrifying. Once the eels took over, they ate everything that the small fish would eat. So the small fish left. When the small fish left, the big fish left. We had no carp, no bass, nothing. When the big fish left, the birds left. We had no herons, we had no egrets, we had no eagles, we had no ospreys. It was the quietest summer we ever had in the watershed. It took 8 years before everything got back. That's humans. Anything that affects her, anything that turtles die of, anything that most of the wildlife in our area die of, it's humans. We're the reason behind it all. I tell kids all the time at Turtle Talks, they want to know what can I do to help the turtles? It's 2 words. Don't litter. If we can not just drop them on the ground, but your car leaks oil, you're washing your car and letting soapy water go into the creek. Anything that goes into the storm sewers is going to be a hazard to the waterways. So if you really want to help them, don't litter. That's it. Be a decent resident of the planet. We're here first. We deserve to let them run the place. That's the way I feel. Anyway, what else? Oh, and my last thing, I tell little kids, there are 7 billion people on the planet. If everybody picked up 1 piece of trash today, that would be 7 billion pieces of trash picked up. Pick up 2. You'll be my hero. You'll be everybody's hero. So just try to treat the planet and the other creatures who live here responsibly. I can't think of anything else because I'm rambling. Questions, anybody? I would love to have questions.
Do you have anything to show?
Oh, I do have things to show. Thank you, Vicki. I have things to show you.
Cindy, did you want me to go through? You have a couple more slides here. Did you want me to scroll through those?
Yeah, scroll through them and I'll see what I got. Oh, these are turtle talks. My daughter says that the one on the left looks like I'm going to eat that turtle. He's right. It does look like I'm going to eat it. And the other one is from Penn's Landing. I did World Ocean Day. And on the table there, you can see there is a turtle skull, and I have it right here. I don't know if you could see it. This is from a
Wow.
sea turtle. It washed up on the beach on the bank of the Delaware River in Westville, and the mayor of Westville found it. Well, he took the head home, boiled it in his wife's big pot, and she said, get that thing out of the house, buy new pots and pans, or we're getting divorced. So he brought it to me. The cool thing about this turtle is when it was alive, it was bigger than me. You can see turtles don't have teeth, but his jaw is so sharp. They have as much torque as an alligator. A turtle this size could take off your hand easily, but they wouldn't because they're nice creatures. This one was hit by a propeller, and that's what killed it. And it's a very, very sad thing. Again, humans did it. Humans are horrible things. I just don't like humans. And I had a few other things. When I said people start dropping things off on your porch, people have been giving me turtle knickknacks and all kinds of things for years. I've got over 500 little thingies. My china closet is filled with them. This is one of my favorites. A detective in Delanco was on a stakeout, and he had a piece of wood, so he started carving it. He said, I'll be doing that. Looks like little turtles sitting on the log. So he finished it off and painted it a little bit and gave it to me. So I love that one. And I've got a turtle sundial. Anybody's welcome to come over anytime and see any of these. Everybody who gets a present from me, birthday, Christmas, whatever, is getting a turtle, because I got to do something with them before I die. Okay, now go ahead. Oh, these are my turtle crossing signs. I started putting them up. And like I said, I love the people that say, how did they know to cross there? I said, oh, they're very smart. They're much smarter than humans. Oh, yes, I had my turtles. The
Oh
one
my.
left, I was at a turtle talk at the Baptist church. After Marshall had eaten all of the flowers in their yard, I had a water turtle there, and I was trying to get it to go back into the box so I could take it home, and it nailed me in the arm. The one
Wow.
right, you just barely see it on my cheek. I was doing a turtle talk in Morristown. I had 15 5-year-olds in front of me, and I had just finished telling them, if a turtle bites you, don't panic. Take a piece of grass and stick it up its nose, and it will sneeze and let go. Well, there was a woman with a toddler, and she told her little kid, oh, look, honey, a baby turtle in a bucket. Grab it. And I was like, no, toddler, turtle, no. So I lunged down to grab the turtle away from the little kid, but I had a snapping turtle in my hand.
Oh.
I screamed, he nailed me in the face. I said, I completely forgot what I told those little children, and I said a string of really naughty words. And the parents were all covering their little kids' ears. Dr. Bodas from Cinnaminson Pediatrics and a photographer both come running up. And I said, no, get a picture first, because I was working at the River's Edge hayride back then, and I was hoping it would be really gory and it would be great for the hayride. Didn't even leave a mark. So Dr. Bodas came over and he touched it up, and he said, you were really lucky. I could have taken off your whole nose. I said, well, maybe that wouldn't have been a bad thing. But he said, no, it would have. But yes, they do bite, but only when provoked. They will only go after, like people say, oh, they're so mean in the creek, and they eat little baby ducks. They only eat little baby ducks if little baby ducks are stupid enough to put their little baby duck foot in front of a snapping turtle. Their neck is so long, they could reach all the way to the back of their shell if they wanted to, but they're fat, they're lazy. If something swims close enough they can nab it, they will. Carp and bass eat little baby ducks. So don't blame the turtles for that. Okay, Heather, go ahead. Oh, these are little baby musk turtles. Those are coins in the water with them. There's a nickel and a dime. These are so adorable. They are also the meanest, most vicious turtles that we have. They have chased me in the creek. Stop. After they pee on you, they will try to bite your face off, and then they use this yellow goo from their armpits. It stains your skin. It smells worse than any skunk ever did. That's why they call them stink pots. A long time ago, the Academy of Natural Science called me they said that they had lost, their musk turtle had died. So they asked me if I would get them one. So I caught one for them and I went over there with it, and I had to sign all kinds of like adoption papers and stuff and promised that I would never try to take custody again. But it's still there. That's been like, God, 15 years ago, but I can still go and visit my little turtle. But they are adorable. They were smaller than a dime when they first hatch. Okay, Heather, go ahead. What else I got? That's more musk turtles. Oh, and that one you can't really see, but there's like 4 little turtle heads popping up in the creek. And if I go over at night and shine my light, they all come up. And I must confess, I do feed them chicken occasionally. But what I'll do is I'll go over and net a bunch of minnows, and then I freeze them, and then I'll throw frozen minnows to them because I don't like to feed them anything that's not really part of their diet. Okay, what else do I have, Heather? I think that probably is close to it. Oh, these are turtles. Red eared sliders, the ones I told you about my mother throwing them out in the Delaware. Well, when we do find them, or when people say, why do I still have this turtle? My kid went away to college and I'm stuck with this turtle. So I would have ponds in my backyard. And I love the second one. They stick their back feet out when they're basking and they look like they're posing for Vogue or something. They crack me up. Okay, what else do we have, Heather? Oh, this is my creek. If you look down almost all the way to the back, that's the remnants of a dock, but there's a turtle on the log there. Keep going. That's my Marshall. Marshall is an African spur-thigh tortoise. He's also got a lot of personality. When he first came to me, he was about maybe 20 pounds. He was 6 years old. He is now 18 and weighs 120 pounds and is really, really pushy. He will probably get to be about 200 to 250 pounds when he's full grown. Unfortunately, I will never live to see that because they live forever. In my will, there's a whole page dedicated to Marshall. He gets money before my children do because I have a place for him to go in Florida, but he has to buy his own ticket. So my daughter said he can have all the money as long as I don't have to take him. Oh, there's the COVID wise Marshall. He's wearing his own mask. He was very responsible. And I just think they're beautiful. They look like that from the moment they hatch. They look like little old men. From the moment they don't change a whole lot. Okay, Heather, I think that is it. That was it. Anyway, questions?
I just want to say that I heard of this thing where turtles get bumped by boats and then they can't eat, but they can still breathe. Because I went to a turtle hospital.
Very, very true. It's a very sad thing.
And I went to a turtle hospital.
Another problem.
What?
Really? That's wonderful.
And the only turtles they did not save were leatherbacks. And you probably know why.
Oh, that's so sad. They're beautiful turtles.
I know. That's probably the turtle that was probably bigger than you when you were.
Yes, yes. They think that this one was what was it? A Ridley's. They think it was. But most sea turtles are considered endangered in New Jersey, and it's all because of humans. I love the people that have the turtle hospital. They're so good. That reminds me, did you ever see that turtle man on TV? I don't like him. It's like on the duck guys, and they're always hunters, but they pick snapping turtles up by the tail. And that's a terrible thing. Snapping turtles and all turtles, their skeleton is directly, I mean, that's their shell is their skeleton. The colored part is like your fingernails. It's made of keratin. If you pick a turtle up by its tail, you can snap its spine and they're paralyzed. They can't move around to eat. And it takes them a long time to die, and it's horrifying for them.
Imagine just all of a sudden you're swimming in the water, and then all of a sudden you get grabbed by the leg.
Yep.
Help me.
If you got to pick up a turtle, you got to try to get it, a snapping turtle, you got to try to get it behind its back legs. But once they weigh more than like 5 or 10 pounds, for somebody my size, that's really hard to do. and their head can reach all the way back around. So you don't want to upset them.
Yeah.
I
And
figure it's just better to just leave them alone.
I heard that they used to make turtle chowder, and that's just disgusting.
Turtle soup, yes. Bookbinders in Philadelphia, famous restaurant. They were really proud of their snapper soup, and it was just like, ew. I can understand if we were trapped on a desert island and all we had to eat was a sea turtle, I would know how to cook it. However, we don't live on a desert island. We have lots of other things to eat. We don't need to eat turtles. I think we should leave them alone.
I don't want to eat a turtle.
Me neither. Me neither. I like you. You're a good kid.
All right, Cindy, I have a question from someone about 20 minutes ago, according to the timestamp, asking whether or not you have ever seen a turtle fight with another turtle. I'm not sure
Yes,
that wasn't the
I had.
That was my question.
That was your question. Okay.
It was hilarious. When I got Marshall in 2009, and not long after that, somebody brought me another sulcata who was 12 years old, and he had been kept in a basement in Northeast Philly for his entire life, never got outside into the sun. His shell was very deformed. He didn't walk real well. After about a month, he could pull himself forward on his front legs, and he got pretty fast, but he would chase Marshall around the yard. They were both boys, which was a little creepy, but Rover was just like, I want that turtle. And he would chase Marshall and flip him over onto his back. But as soon as he did that, he would flip him back over. He would help him back up. I think he just did it for fun. And I remember Marshall finally got to the point where he could flip Rover over. That sounds funny. And he was so proud of himself. It's like when your kid does something they're real proud of, he comes running in and has, Mom, look, I flipped him. But of course, Rover had already flipped himself back over. It was Rover was very sad. He died when he was 16. He just never did well, even though he had a lot of sunshine and he was getting the right food once he was here. But 12 years of abuse was just too much. And I was devastated when I lost him. I do, however, this is kind of creepy, I have his shell. I didn't bring it out tonight because it's in the process of being preserved. But he was almost as big as Marshall when he died, and it's really cool. So when I finally get it back from having it preserved, I'll put it online so everybody can see it. Next.
Looks like Iris question.
Cindy, are there any rainbow-shelled turtles?
Rainbow-shelled turtles?
Yeah.
The closest thing is a diamondback terrapin. They're the turtles from down at the shore. My friend Jamie Welsh can tell you, they are beautiful. They have swirl patterns on their shells, and they have blue markings on their feet and their legs, and they're absolutely beautiful. I'll give your grandma a link to look at pictures of them because they are just beautiful. That's the closest you can tell me.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sweetheart.
I have a question that might be a dumb question, but what is the difference between a tortoise and a turtle? Because I know they often get used interchangeably, but I know they are different things.
The difference is what you call them. That's why scientifically we use the Latin names.
Okay.
A red-bellied turtle is a rubiventris rubiventris. Marshall is a Geochelan sulcata. We don't say tortoise or turtle because nobody gets it right. Some people say that a turtle is aquatic, a tortoise is on land, but it goes back and forth. There's also terrapins. So like I said, the only difference is basically what you call it. That's why we go by the scientific names, the Latin names.
Good to know. Someone else wanted to know that this is very fun, very informative, and they want to know if you do tours related to turtles.
I used to. I had a little pickup truck, and after Marshall was too big to ride in my lap, I would put him in the back of the truck, but he got so big that it would make the whole truck move. But I did like watching him stick his face out the back of the truck, looking at the people driving behind me because they would panic and say, "Oh my God, there's a dinosaur looking at me." Last time we did that was 2018. However, I am pleased to announce that Marshall will be opening for Ken Queter and Jim Fogarty at the Gloucester City Concert Series on August 24th. Marshall will be there. Actually, lost artist opening, but Marshall will be there wandering around the crowd. He does love the attention. We go for walks every day around the block. The longest he's ever done was 8 blocks, but he loves the attention. He likes to walk down along the light rail tracks because the people in the train wave at him, and people will pull off of Broad Street to come and make a fuss over him. And he really enjoys that. He kind of preens and, yes, I am fabulous, aren't I? And he's really funny. But yes, we will be back out and about. But I did turtle talks for years when he was small. Oh, thank you, Vicky. Marshall the Tortoise has his own Facebook page. It's Marshall the Tortoise, and he can be kind of snarky, so you have to kind of bear with him. But he can be a little arrogant and rude sometimes. But he is fun. And we do put up the videos of our walks, which is hilarious. As soon as I turn away, like the other day, I was up talking to my neighbor Marie, and Marshall said, "She's not looking." Boom, took off like a shot, trying to get away. I don't know where he thinks he's going, because he's going to end up back home anyway. The nice thing about where I live is everybody in the neighborhood knows him. So even if he did get out, we had to sink our fence in concrete to keep him from escaping. But even if he did get out, he knows the route, and everybody in the neighborhood knows him. And the kids all know, you just steer him with your feet and he'll come home. Oh, I just saw Falcor walk behind me. Falcor is not happy about not being the center of attention right now. Falcor is my dog.
Just put in the chat the link to Marshall's Facebook page if you would like to like and follow him. The videos are very funny. I can attest. It's very nice to see about taking a walk, eating the foliage, so on and so forth. Does anyone else have any other questions?
Also, when I was at the turtle hospital, there was a really endangered turtle. I forget what it was called.
I love this kid.
A hawk turtle or something?
Bill,
Yeah, and it was because of their weird way of laying eggs.
there's a problem with poor sea turtles when they lay their eggs. Back in the olden days, they could lay their eggs and they would know to go, when the babies hatched, they would know to go to the ocean because the moonlight would shine on the water. Well, now people have built restaurants and things all along the coast. And when the baby turtles hatch, they can't tell the difference between the lights from the restaurants and the light reflecting on the water. And it's a real problem. I think what cartoon show, what channel 12 did they do that? I forget. But it's people, again, are responsible for the problems that the baby turtles are having for not being able to get back to the ocean.
With this one, it's because it lays its eggs in the daytime.
A lot of turtles will lay their eggs in the daytime, even snapping turtles, because they float out with the high tide because they're fat and lazy, and they lay their eggs, but it'll take them a couple of hours. And then by that time the sun's up, and that's a problem. I once watched a raccoon sitting behind a turtle laying her eggs, grabbing them and eating them as she was laying them. It was horrible. But daytime egg laying is not a good idea. So it's better if they lay them at night, but yeah.
Yeah, where it starts to get the night, and
because then the birds can see them and all the other predators can see them. And it's really a shame. But that's one of the reasons why they lay so many eggs. Sea turtles will lay 100, 150 eggs at a time.
wow.
Because not many of them will survive.
Yeah. What's the biggest turtle you've ever seen?
The biggest turtle I've ever seen is a turtle at the Philadelphia Zoo. It's a Galapagos tortoise. Her name is Mommy. She's the one, a white plaster patch on the very back end of her shell. The Philadelphia Zoo got her in 1934, and she was already an adult. So she's well over 150 years old at this point. She still lays eggs every year. And she's hilarious. If you go to the zoo and they have a really nice turtle enclosure now. If you go to the side of the enclosure and you say, "Mommy, Mommy," she'll come over to you. And if you go to take her picture, she makes this face. It's hilarious. My favorites, Galapagos are the biggest tortoises in the world, but they're island tortoises. The second largest is Aldabras, and those are both island tortoises. Marshall, the sulcatas, are the largest continental tortoise. So he's the third largest species in the world and the largest continental tortoise.
Yay.
The turtles at the zoo, I love to bits. Years ago, I was over there talking to my friend, and he was hosing out the enclosure inside, and he had these big trash cans full of their lunch, but he wasn't feeding them yet. So the one tortoise goes over and is like tugging on his shorts and finally bit him right in the behind.
Ooh.
Almost fell down laughing. It was hilarious. And it's like, see the turtle nose. Don't mess with turtles. They're smarter than you. I thought,
Yeah, because they've lived longer than you. Well,
right. And they're calm and they have a very slow metabolism and not a whole lot rattles them. And I think we could learn a lot from them. Just relax. Take things easy.
Okay. I have another question, whether or not we might actually see Marshall, or did I hear?
Marshall went to
was
bed.
inside?
He's
Oh, he
a
went to bed.
brat. He went to bed. I'm very sorry about that, but
Is Fluffy in bed too?
Fluffy, we were listening when we first started. We could hear Fluffy. Fluffy has a doghouse. Turn around and show him the doghouse. There's Fluffy's doghouse
Hold on.
and Fluffy's little pen. I have to keep them separated because Marshall is very
Like go down.
friendly. Very, very friendly.
This is Cindy's backyard.
I'm walking over to where the doghouse is.
The turtle house. Look out, dog. Yeah, you could. Yeah, he's asleep.
This
Done.
one is asleep inside. Can you see anything in there?
Oh, yeah.
It's a Rubbermaid doghouse, and I have to have the pen because Marshall likes to get very friendly, and it's just not safe for Fluffy because he's too heavy.
And
Squash him.
should we try to see him, or he's?
I don't know if he,
We're going to walk over and see if we can find Marshall. He went into the shed, but we don't know if we'll be able to see him. Plus, it's a little dark in there.
Okay. All right.
Did I come in?
Hmm.
He is, looks like he's not in sight.
knocked everything
Yeah.
over and hid,
He's over at a corner where it's dark, so we can't see him right now.
and he's going to get really yelled at tomorrow.
By this time of day, he settles down for the night.
If it's really, really hot, he'll take a nap during the day and then stay up. But
All right. Well, hopefully he will have a nice sleep. So it's just about 7 o'clock. So I think this is a good place to wrap up. Thank you very much, everyone who joined us today. I just want to mention that the summer reading theme for next year really is related to oceans. So we will probably see Cindy again, I'm hoping. And maybe a few other collaborative things throughout the year as well. I am going to put in the chat, this is the 5th week of the library's 6-week summer reading program. So I'm going to link to the event calendar on the website. As I said earlier, the theme for this year's summer reading was animals, specifically Tails and Tails. Iris is wearing her Tails and Tails shirt. I am too, and so is Vicky. You can't see me past my shoulders. But we also have a number of other animal related programs that are coming up in the next 2 weeks. Next Thursday, we have a chicken story time. Gwen Bailey, who is the South Jersey chicken lady, she travels around and has a number of therapy chickens. She is going to be doing a live virtual story time through the library Zoom account, similar to this. That is going to be Thursday morning. And our last day of summer reading, which is the Saturday, the 14th of August, we have a number of animals that are native to Australia coming for a show that will be live at the library in person. So if anyone has any questions about that, you are welcome to check out the website. And thank you very much for coming. And I think this was a great informative session. And maybe next time we will see Marshall. Did you have a question, Olivia?
Yeah. Is there one place that I'll definitely see Cindy?
Looks like, where is Cindy? Oh, there she is.
Right here.
Hello.
Did you
I
hear
would
that,
think-
Cindy?
No,
She wants to know.
Lydia asked, is there a place that she could be able to see you in person?
yes, we welcome visitors. And like I said, I'll be in Gloucester City on August 24th. And if you go to Marshall's page on Facebook, you'll be able to find me. I'll be able to post info
Okay.
about where to see him.
And Heather, I don't know if you noticed, someone just put a message up asking if this presentation will be posted anywhere to be watched.
Yeah, so I did record this, so we will see once this presentation is over and it has finished doing what it needs to do to process. We'll review it and then it will be posted to the library's YouTube and probably also Facebook and Instagram as well. And so anyone who registered for this will also get a link whenever it is posted so you can view it again.
Yay, thank you. And I didn't say any naughty words.
That is right.
Well,
Congratulations.
that's probably because a turtle didn't bite you.
Yes, that's good. All right. Okay, have a great night, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cindy.
Bye.
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 Thanks, Cindy.
Bye.
Do we leave, Heather?
If you want, or I'm gonna pause the recording or stop the recording.